welcome to another Writerly Witterings. It's that time of year, isn't it? Today, a pen which is rapidly becoming one of my favourites in conjunction with another. Let's have a look. Now, if you watch my videos, you know that I tend to like fairly conservative colours. I have my Viscontis in a very colourful array of blacks. I have my Model 58 Conway Stewart in black. I have a black Conway Stewart Churchill. I like conservative colours, but every now and again something else arrives that shakes me out of my comfort zone, and here we have two of them. Now, I've spoken already for a couple of videos about how much I just adore this Opus 88. It is, I think, fantastic. I love the looks, I love the feel, I love the weight. Everything about it just suits me fine. But recently, I've received two others. Now, these pens are very different in terms of price apart from anything else. But there's one thing that makes them this remarkably similar, and that is they both have magnetic caps. I just love that. Look at this. Fits on the back as well. So what have we here? We have a Yookers pen, which I'm going to talk about in a moment, and we have a Visconti. This is one of their breezes in lime, which is, I will have to say, really quite bright, really quite garish, and I absolutely love it. So I'm going to talk about both of these pens because they both have magnetic caps. That's just so nice. So the breeze first. You know I like Viscontis. What do I like about this one? I really like the Visconti style clip, which slides straight down my shirts with the most fabulous ease. Just goes straight on and slides down because they've just taken away a little bit here and angled the front of the clip, so it just fits on nicely. That's good, like it. I'm not a huge fan of the colour. It is enormously garish, but it's not unappealing even for a staid old fart like me. It's really quite eye-catching. I've got a suspicion it will scratch quite easily, but I find it really appealing. The shape is just a standard sort of cigar shape, I suppose you could call it. The clip at the top goes right over, so there's a spring somewhere in there, a mechanical spring. The bottom here has a little shiny tip, which you can't see at all. Let me just do that. Little shiny metal tip there, which I thought was so that you could magnetically attach it to the cap. It will post, but nope, there's no magnet whatsoever there that I can discern. What sort of filling mechanism? It is a good standard universal cartridge or piston cartridge converter filler. Nice and easy, very convenient. You can fill it anywhere when you're on the go. Really worthwhile pen. Now, before I continue, let's have a look at this Yookers. I find this just a little bit more subtle than the Visconti colour. It is a glorious, I'm not sure exactly how it's done, but I think it's an aluminium anodised, and it has etching going all the way up the length of the pen. On the band here it does say Yookers, YOOKERS. The cap is a lovely shiny piece of metal. The other end has a lovely shiny piece of metal. But there's also this sort of sleeve. And what's interesting is when you take the cap off, you see there's this extension section that is concealed when it's inside the pen and concealed again when you put it on the back. So it posts beautifully. And it just feels glorious. It really does. I can't stress how good that feels in the hand. Nice, useful clip, which is moderately strong. Certainly it holds on my shirt without any problem at all, which is thin material. It's a standard old-fashioned clip where it's got two tags, I suppose I'll call them, that go inside the lid and then I think are crimped tightly so that it doesn't come flying off at the most inopportune moment. But the thing that's different with this Yookers is that it is not a standard type fountain pen, it is a fibre tip pen. This one is 1mm. I have been sent by Yookers 3 pens, which I'm going to review a bit later. One of them, they've sent me all 4 different types of nib, so I can test the whole lot. But what is so special about these pens? Why am I talking about this here on a fountain pen site? Well, the main thing is, it takes standard international ink cartridges, which means it also takes standard cartridge converters for other fountain pens. So all of a sudden you have this astonishing, really rather lovely fibre tip pen, but you can use any colour you want in it. Plus, and the big thing for me is, it replaces any number of rollerball and similar types of pen for sketching, for writing, for whatever you want, because when that runs out, it goes in landfill, it gets chucked. When this runs out, it's just a standard international ink cartridge, or still better, just a refill from a cartridge converter, so there's no waste. If you've been watching my videos, you know I do not like chucking things into landfill. Let's carry on with the Visconti briefly. Taking the cap off, it is a nice Visconti steel nib. This is a medium, I think. I'm just going to check. Yes, it does say M for medium there. And it's pleasantly engraved. It's nothing over the top. It's quite simple. The actual section has no flaring or anything to stop your fingers sliding down, and it is an acrylic, so it is going to get slippery in the summer. I rather like the breeze bezel-y bit here because that I think looks quite nice. And apart from that, there's really not much to be said. Open it up, as I said earlier, and you have a standard cartridge converter. I am now going to fill this with one of my more favoured inks, which today is Blue Mar from Rohrer and Klingner, because I do love this ink. I was sent this by Chris Curtis some time ago to have a play with, and I've loved it, absolutely loved it. Now the main thing obviously with a fountain pen is, what is it like to write with? So let's have a go at writing with a Visconti, which, now if you've been watching recent videos, you know that about my favourite. Oh good, inky fingers already. This has a steel nib. Some steel nibs are absolutely wonderful, others can be absolutely disgusting. This, I must admit, is probably one of the very best nibs I have ever tried. It is smooth. I mean, this is Tomo River paper, and it's lovely paper to write on. But like most Viscontis, it does have a certain amount of give in the nib. I wouldn't want to push it too far because you will just ruin the tines, but this does feel very, very nice indeed. And just now, I have to admit, this pen was sent to me by a friend who's supporting the channel. It was not sent to me by Visconti, so I don't have any particular axe to grind. But I have to admit, just now, this is the pen I go to when I'm doing standard small notes or letters, because it has got a really rather, I don't know what it is that Visconti managed to do, but there's just a really nice feel to it. And I love that. It's just the ease of capping it, because it caps itself. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. But let's just have a quick look at this too, because these two pens are similar because they're capping pens. Whoops. That was my fault, I think. I haven't used this for several days. And I have to admit, this is lovely. Now, would it replace something like that? No, it would not. I'm not going to press too hard because that would probably ruin the nib on this. But this, it's only a 1mm nib. I first used a fibre tip pen like this back in the early 1980s, and when I was a computer salesman, and I had this really nice, very, very slim notebook that I would carry in my jacket inner pocket. And I had a pen that was similar in looks to this, except it was only about 6 to 7mm diameter. This is nearer 10mm, I think, possibly even larger than that. I should apologise, I would normally measure all of my devices, but just now the batteries died in my magic measuring device, and I'm stuck until I can get a new battery, which is hopefully arriving on Friday. But right now I can't measure it precisely. I will try to put up an update and measure it properly there. But what I would say is that I've always liked this style of nib. They're quite enjoyable. They're great for sketching. They're great for getting a lot of variation with your lines, because if you just use it lightly, it'll go very thin. If you press harder, yes, you get thicker lines. And I always used to use these instead of pen and ink for sketching because they just look nice. But this, because it will take international cartridges, you could get hold of you could get hold of an international sized cartridge converter, and almost every firm sells them. Fit that instead of an ink cartridge, and you could fill it with carbon black, you could fill it with Rohrer and Klingner, one of their sketch inks, doesn't matter what, and I think you'd suddenly have an absolutely wonderful sketching pen for carrying around with you. Not quite as flexible as a Fude pen, but still very, very effective. And it is a lovely thing to hold in the hand. Now I've got to say, of course, I've got a bright yellow Apple iMac, and so of course this goes superbly well with that. But good feel, it's a good weight, it's got a really good balance, and it has that wonderful magnetic clip. Oh, sorry, I just think that's lovely. I really do. That's such good fun. So the difference between these two is this one obviously is a real fountain pen and costs getting on for £100. This is considerably cheaper. But they are both really rather lovely. And the nice thing is they like each other, because as you can see, if you put them side by side, their magnets sort of mate. So there you have it. A fountain pen and a fibre tip. But it's a fibre tip you could take to work and not be ashamed of. This is a really rather fantastic pen. I'm very impressed with it. I'll be interested to see how long the fibre tips actually last for, but you can just unscrew the fibre tip. It comes off here. I can't unscrew this one because it has a ink cartridge attached and I don't want to have that forced off, but you can replace the nibs. There is space for 2 standard international ink cartridges, I think, so you could have 2 cartridges backed up. Really nice feel, lovely weight, great balance. We've got a green car. When I go into a car park, I can always find my car really quickly because there's very few green cars. You leave this on your office desk, you'll find it quickly because it's sort of shouting at you like a neon light. But if you're looking for what I would say not a terribly expensive pen, it's not in the 90 quid mark. It's not cheap. It's not as cheap as most pens really, but you look at a TWSBI or something, they're considerably cheaper. You could get 4 TWSBI swipes for the price of one of these. But you would prefer using this. That much I'm sure of. The nib's fantastic, the looks are bright, but it has that magnetic cap which I love. So, hope that was interesting. I'll put the dimensions of these things down below. If you'd like to support the channel, don't forget you can go to Patreon. You can do all sorts of things like that. You can hit the subscribe button, hit the share button. You can like it. You can tell your friends about it. You can go naked, running through the streets, shouting writerly witterings, and people will probably understand why if you've seen any of these videos. But apart from that, I'm going to go now and finish my cup of tea, do a bit of editing, and then take the dog for a walk, because that's what my life is like. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll speak to you soon. Cheers! Yes, I'm still wearing the hat. Shocking, isn't it? Cheers.